Wir sind umzingelt von Feinden. Ich habe eurem Vater versprochen, diese Familie zu beschützen.
Jedes Bündnis hat seinen Preis. Siegfried von Xanten. Die Geschichten sind wahr. Er hat den Drachen getötet.
Unser einziger Ausweg ist ein Pakt mit den Walküren.
Dann muss er kämpfen. Und wie alle vor ihm wird er sterben.
Kein Mann allein kann sie besiegen. Auch ich nicht.
The story basically is mostly known for Hagen being the bad guy, being the dark one in this saga. And the saga is like it exists already for 1,000 years or something. And of course we know that Wagner used it for his The Ring trilogy in the Walküre and stuff like that. And it's also known, it has this dark side also. The story has this dark side as well. So that was also quite challenging to find a different approach to tell this story again, but from a different perspective. And of course it's based on this novel from Holbein. The thing I loved about this character is that you can really see how he becomes the figure Hagen and why he's making these decisions and why he is doing what he does at the end of the story, which is actually different because in this story there's a different ending, and it's maybe a little bit of a surprise for the audience because it ends differently. That's also fun. But it's a very silent character. He's suppressing his emotions all the time, and he's trying to be loyal, and he's trying to be faithful to the king and to the family. But he's also struggling with a lot. So one challenge was to not outburst in emotions, but to hold it all the time. So hold it down. So that was sometimes the discussion between me and the directors as well. How to feel in this character is also, not doing too much. So there's a lot in this story and this character to struggle with, but with pleasure. Yeah.
Well, for me, the biggest challenge was the stunt that I have never done before, and I was quite scared of it. But then in the end, it turned out to be so fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, and also, of course, it's a big set and there's a lot of technical stuff. Sometimes it's challenging to focus on the things that matter within, when everything is so technical. But I think that's also an interesting challenge. Yeah. Yeah, all of the fights, I had to rehearse a lot, yeah.
There were a lot of stunts, and especially the fight at the end between me and a certain person. And we really had to rehearse that as much as possible. So we did it basically, I think, once in 2 weeks. We just had to go through it, and then till the moment where we actually were shooting it. There was quite a long preparation for that one because it's like a big fight. I think it lasts like 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe, the whole fight. And it's like this whole choreography, but it's really fun to work at. Yeah, in the end it's like this dance in a way. And you have to repeat it all the time, but also it's not chronologically, it's really like in bits and pieces all the time. So we had 3 days for it, so it went from this part to this part, and then we had to replace it by a stunt guy because it was too dangerous because of the surroundings of the scenery where we did it. So that was quite challenging, but really fun.
It wasn't something we talked about a lot. I think for me and for them, when you work with something, you can call this historical, but when you work with something that is very well known, or if you portray a character that everybody knows, stuff like that can become very tricky because you start seeing it from the outside. So for me, it's always been very important to kind of do a lot of research and then forget about it. Yeah. So you can be in the present moment with the character and what is good for the scene instead of what your idea of something should be instead. Yeah.
For me, it's actually a little bit the same. I knew that they didn't want to tell a same story again and not like an historical piece, and also they didn't want to make like a political statement or whatever. They really took another part from this huge saga and used a different perspective. And what I also really like about this film, and in the end when it's also becoming a series as well, which is much more, even more than what we have right now in the film. But I think it's really fun to watch both, because it's through a different pair of eyes. Normally you see it through the perspective of the hero, who's basically most of the time Siegfried, but now they switch. There's this difference in perspective, and what I really like about it is that it's really like a strong ensemble thing. You know, it's like, of course it's Hagen, but it's really, you can see also the strong arcs of the women as well. Kriemhild, Brunhild are very, very strong characters, even stronger than the men, I think, basically. So that's also a different historical perspective. So that's really interesting about this film as well.
Diese Familie ist alles, was wir haben.
Wait till the world is mine.